We all know that Li Bai and Du Fu are contemporaries, and together are considered the greatest pair of poets in ancient Chinese poetry. We now often refer to them as Li Du, Li Bai and Du Fu. Chinese people really enjoy this kind of reference, putting two or more people together using initials into a group, showing their respect, appreciation, and more importantly, acknowledgement of their equal status and achievement. Last week we learned a poem, Shan Xing by Du Mu, an exceptionally talented late Tang poet. There was another equally exceptionally talented poet named Li Shangying, who enjoyed similar fame as Du Mu during their time. So later, people put these two names together too, and also called them Li Du. But to distinguish between this pair and the Li Bai and Du Fu, we now refer to them as Xiao Li Du, Li Du Jr. Like Li Bai and Du Fu, this pair were also very influential to poetry in later dynasties, and both of them have a tremendous fan base. Today we're going to learn a poem by Li Shangying. We mentioned last week that in Asian poetry, because of the confinement of the length of each line, a lot of writings are vague, resulting in ambiguity when it comes to the real intended meaning of these poems. This phenomenon was most evident in Li Shangying's works. Even now, there are many of his poems that we do not really understand. We really don't know for sure what he meant. But on the other hand, these poems were so beautifully written, the choices of words so exquisite and charming. They deliver a dreamy and surreal sense, like magnet, appealing to poem lovers till now. The poem we are looking at today is not that vague, yet it does have that kind of quality of being rather mysterious. And like last week, it's also a poem written in the autumn. The title of this poem is 夜雨寄北. 夜 is night, and 雨 is rain. So it was a wet, rainy night. 寄 is to send something by post, and in this case, it is a poem that the poet was sending. 北 is north, so Li Shangying wrote this poem and was going to send it by post to somewhere in the north. Now, if we go back and take a look at all the poems that we have learned so far and pay attention to their titles, long or short, such as 静夜思, 黄鹤楼送孟浩然之广陵, or 月夜, 9月9日忆山东兄弟, 悯农, etc., etc. The titles are all pretty clear, and we know what the poem is about. But not here with Li Shangying. He is sending this poem to the north, but to whom? He didn't say. And even after we finish reading the poem, you would still have no clear idea. Let's read the poem first. 君问归期未有期，巴山夜雨涨秋池。何当共剪西窗烛，却话巴山夜雨时。君 is a form of addressing someone in a respectful way. In this case, it refers to whoever Li Shangying was sending this letter to. We have seen this string before in Wang Wei's 杂诗, 君自故乡来，应知故乡事. 问 is to ask. 归 is to return. 期 is time or period or date. So 归期 means the time to return. So it seems like this Jun has asked the poet when he would return, implying that the poet had left home or wherever his base was, and this Jun was expecting him to go back. When is he going back? 未有期. 未 is not yet. 有 is to have. So 有期 means there is a confirmed time or date. But with 未有期 means there is no confirmed date yet. Li Shangying replied to the question, I don't know when I'll return. And he went on, avoiding answering the question fully why he didn't have a return date yet, but instead started to talk about the weather, a bit like the British. Bashan is roughly where current-day Sichuan is, around Chengdu or Chongqing, so this area. And for reference, and here is Chang'an, the capital of Tang, and the current-day capital Beijing is here. 夜雨, we've seen this in the title, Night Rain. So the poet was in the area of Bashan, and it was raining at night. 涨 is to rise up. For example, if the water rises up, we say 水涨. 秋 is autumn. And 池 literally means pond or pool. And here is a general term to refer to any lake, river, or pool of water. So after the night rain, water level in all these rivers and lakes in the Bashan area rises. Now, do you feel a bit dreamy from this setting? We could imagine a film scene. The voice-over out of the picture frame had asked you, when would you return? You briefly said no idea, but then the camera immediately shifted to somewhere else. A hazy, rainy night, almost like saying, shh, listen, it's raining here. And look, the water is rising everywhere. And you then have this vision, or indeed, the film could show water slowly rising up, with rain continuously falling onto the surface of those rivers and lakes. It's beautiful, isn't it? And the mood is very fuzzy, not clear at all. This is the style of Li Shangyi. He always created this kind of hazy and dreamy scenarios, leaving all the explanation and imaginations to the readers themselves. Now what? 何当 means with an emphasis, or when on earth. 共 means together. 剪 is to cut or to trim. When did he want to cut? What did he want to cut? It's 西窗烛. 烛 is basically 蜡烛, candles. When we burn candles, from time to time, we need to cut the wick so that there will be less smoke and the flame will be brighter. A bit like that. 窗 is window, and 西 is west. So 西窗 literally is the windows that face the west. But here it does not necessarily refer to the actual facing of the windows. 西窗 is yet another set term implying how beautiful and graceful the windows are. Because the sun and the moon set in the west, so this direction, 西, always has a feel of somewhat cold and some nostalgia and a hint of beautiful sadness. Poetry language is really amazing here, for example. We really can't replace this 西 with, say, 东, east, or 南, south, or 北, north. That would ruin the whole atmosphere. It has to be 西窗. Now let's come back and look at this line again. Li Shangyi was saying, when on earth can we sit together next to the west windows, perhaps in a cozy room, and trim the candle wick? It's obvious the poet was saying, although I don't know when I can come back, I really want to come back. I'm really looking forward to coming back. But he didn't just say this bluntly and directly, but instead said, when I can cut the candle wick together with you. How romantic and poetic. We can also note that the somewhat cold 西窗 is in contrast with a warm candle, further creating a cozy, snug atmosphere. And what do we talk about when we do this? 却 is then, and 话 means to talk about. We know what 巴山夜雨 is. The night rain in Bashan. 时 is at the time when. So Li Shangyi wanted to spend the evening with this Jun back home, talking about the night rain in Bashan while cutting the candle wick. If we relate this to the beginning 2 lines of the poem, we suddenly realize what the poet was up to. While he didn't say why he couldn't give a confirmed return date, he hinted that he really wished so, and to show his sincerity, he said he would bring the memory of this beautiful rainy night back when he returned, and tell you all about it. This is an exceptional description of utmost affection, but in a very quiet, subtle way. Extraordinary. Now that we understand what this poem is about, we can go back and take a fresh look at the title. 夜雨寄北. Who is this poem addressed to? It turns out that whoever it was, that person was in Chang'an, so currently Xi'an. And Li Shangyin was in Bashan, which was south of Chang'an. That's why he said 寄北, letter to send to the north. But who to? The most likely answer is his wife, based on the poem's tone and content, which for a while was widely accepted. But then someone did a lot of digging and found out that this poem was actually written after Li Shangyin's wife died, so it can't be her. They then concluded it must be to one of the best friends of the poet. Now I'll come back to another point that we talked about before, that it's usually not possible to get 100% accuracy when reading poems. Remember last week, 白云深处有人家, was it real white clouds or smoke from cooking? The format of poetry means we, the readers, have a lot of freedom in accepting what we believe is the most convincing. So we should think more while reading poems and may as well come up with new ideas or findings which will be highly rewarding. For me, for example, I would say this poem certainly fits well with his wife at the receiving end. Even if we accept that it was written after his wife died, who said he couldn't write a poem addressing his dead wife? In fact, if this is the case, it would make the poet's strong and truthful emotion stand out even more extraordinarily, and make this poem more achingly beautiful. What do you think? That's all for today. Thank you very much.